The shocking truth hit the BTS fandom like a sudden thunderbolt. Why was Jungkook missing from a moment that seemed too important to overlook? And why did Jimin, along with the other members, appear united without him? The question has ignited a storm of speculation, frustration, and disappointment across ARMY worldwide. Was Jungkook excluded, or did he deliberately step away? The sight of 5 members together in Los Angeles, RM, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, and V, without Jin and Jungkook, has triggered a surge of curiosity. Yet the focus has quickly narrowed to one point. Jungkook's absence feels more mysterious than Jin's, and fans are struggling to decode the silence surrounding him. The images of the 5 members relaxing by the LA coastline looked cheerful on the surface, but the atmosphere online quickly transformed into tension. Viewers could not ignore the vacant space where Jungkook, usually a central figure in any BTS gathering, should have been. The visual of Jimin leaning casually beside V, both smiling in comfort, raised a new wave of speculation. Was Jungkook watching from the distance? Did he refuse to join, or was he never invited at all? These questions quickly spiraled across social media platforms, where ARMY dissected every angle, every possibility, every hidden sign that could explain why Jungkook was not there. Jin's absence could be easily rationalized. He was still completing commitments for his solo tour, a detail known and accepted by fans. But Jungkook? His case carried an uncomfortable ambiguity. Reports suggested he was indeed in Los Angeles, possibly nearby, yet his presence in that specific photograph was missing. To many, the void felt deliberate. This is why the word disappointed began trending among fans who perceived Jungkook as being sidelined from an intimate group moment that should have included him. The notion that Jimin and the others gathered without Jungkook became a point of emotional contention, sparking accusations of exclusion. Theories emerged with increasing intensity. Some insisted Jungkook was the one behind the camera, preferring to document rather than appear. Others argued he might have been engaged with his solo projects, keeping him occupied during that particular moment. But the most sensitive suggestion, and the one that drew the sharpest emotional reaction, was the idea that Jungkook had been overlooked or not called to join. That interpretation cast a shadow over the seemingly warm camaraderie displayed in the images. If Jungkook had been nearby and not included, the gesture could easily be read as neglect, whether intentional or not. Fans revisited the long-standing dynamics within BTS, recalling earlier instances where Jungkook's role as the youngest had often left him balancing between admiration and frustration. Being the maknae placed him at both the heart and periphery of the group. His bond with Jimin, once celebrated as especially close, was now being re-examined under this new light. Was their connection weakening? Or was this simply an exaggerated reading of a single absent frame? The fandom, however, thrives on details, and in the absence of direct clarification, small gaps become grand narratives. Jimin's visible closeness with V in the LA photos further fueled the emotional divide. The warmth they displayed suggested unity, but the absence of Jungkook complicated the perception. Fans recalled recent moments when Jungkook had expressed his dedication to the group during live streams, showing no sign of detachment. This is why the contrast between his words and his physical absence felt jarring. The question lingered heavily. If Jungkook valued the group so deeply, why was he missing when the others appeared so united? The backdrop of this incident is particularly important. BTS had just emerged from their mandatory military service, a chapter that tested the patience of millions of fans worldwide. The promise of reunion was the light at the end of that long tunnel. When fans finally began to witness moments of togetherness, expectations were higher than ever. Every photo carried symbolic weight. Every appearance was scrutinized as a sign of the group's future. In that fragile context, Jungkook's absence did not look casual. It looked consequential. Speculations about internal tension cannot be dismissed easily. While there is no official confirmation, the fandom's memory recalls earlier rumors of disagreements among members, always denied or downplayed. Now, the sight of Jimin laughing comfortably beside V while Jungkook remained unseen prompted questions about whether the balance of relationships within BTS had shifted. Could Jungkook have felt sidelined as new pairings gained the spotlight? Was his disappointment silent, but visible through absence? Adding to the weight of curiosity is the fact that Jungkook has been investing heavily in his solo identity. His global projects, recording sessions, and individual performances in recent months have placed him in a demanding schedule. For some, this was a sufficient explanation. He was simply working. Yet, others believe the situation is deeper. Even if work kept him busy, why did the group photo not include even a symbolic gesture toward him? The possibility that the gathering happened spontaneously does not erase the sting of exclusion felt by fans who see Jungkook as inseparable from the group identity. The emotional reaction online revealed more than disappointment. It revealed anxiety. ARMY has built their devotion on the promise of unity, on the vision of 7 members inseparable despite challenges. Whenever cracks appear in that unity, however small, fans respond with intensity. This is why the recent LA photo created such a storm. It was not just about Jungkook missing a casual dinner. It was about the symbolism of absence at a time when unity should matter most. The wider context offers another layer of intrigue. BTS is preparing for their grand return in 2026, with an album and world tour in sight. Such preparation requires collaboration, trust, and togetherness. Yet the absence of even one member in moments like these raises concern about whether full synergy has been restored. If Jungkook feels disconnected, even temporarily, what does that mean for the upcoming era? Will the group be able to present themselves as the unbreakable 7 once again, or will shadows of division follow them into their comeback? For many fans, Jungkook's silence on the matter has been louder than any explanation. His lack of visible participation in the LA moment contrasts with Jimin's openness in sharing photos. This imbalance feeds the narrative of exclusion. Every second of quiet from Jungkook is being interpreted as disappointment, whether or not he intended it. His history of emotional honesty in live streams makes his current restraint even more suspicious. If he were simply unavailable, why not clarify, even indirectly? This silence leaves room only for speculation. As the speculation grows, so does the polarization among fans. Some defend Jimin and the other members, claiming the absence was a coincidence without deeper meaning. Others argue passionately that Jungkook's feelings matter, and being excluded from such a visible group moment can indeed be disappointing. The debate reflects a deeper truth about the fandom. ARMY is not merely an audience, but an active participant in shaping the narrative of BTS. The emotional investment is so high that a single photograph can redefine perceptions of unity or discord. The storm is unlikely to fade soon. With the promise of a new group album, every upcoming image, every live stream, every interaction will be dissected for signs of Jungkook's emotional state. If future content shows him fully engaged, the storm may subside. But if patterns of absence continue, fans will amplify their concern. Jungkook's disappointment, real or perceived, has already left its mark. The image of 5 members together without him has become more than just a photo. It has become a symbol of the questions that haunt BTS's reunion in the end. The absence of Jungkook alongside Jimin and the others in Los Angeles has become an emblem of unresolved tension, sparking a wave of emotional reaction that continues to ripple across ARMY. Whether it was a matter of scheduling, personal choice, or deeper disappointment, the silence surrounding the event ensures that the mystery lingers. For a group defined by unity, the image of division, however brief, is enough to shake the faith of millions. The world waits for the next moment when all 7 appear together again, to restore the promise that BTS is strongest when complete. Until then, the question remains unanswered. Was Jungkook left out, or did he walk away on his own? The silence surrounding Jungkook's absence has now become the most unsettling detail in this entire discussion. The longer he remains without a clear statement, the more intense the interpretations become. Every pause, every unseen moment, every choice not to appear with the others deepens the impression that disappointment exists, whether inside him or within the fans who expect his presence. What makes this situation even more striking is the contrast. Jimin confidently sharing warm moments with the group, while Jungkook, known for his openness in other circumstances, remains in the shadows. This duality has created a fracture in perception, with one side shining brightly and the other side left dark. Fans argue that unity must be proven not through words, but through images, gestures, and presence. And at this critical time, when BTS's collective strength is being prepared for a global comeback, the missing figure of Jungkook is louder than any explanation. Until clarity arrives, disappointment will linger. The absence of Jungkook in the recent images of BTS members gathering in Los Angeles has now evolved beyond a simple observation. It has become a cultural case study that demands scrutiny. At first glance, the missing presence of the youngest member seemed to be a mere coincidence, but the overwhelming response it generated raises fundamental questions about how information circulates in today's hyperdigital era. Can the absence of one individual in a photograph be considered evidence of disappointment, exclusion, or division? Or is it possible that this entire narrative has been engineered, consciously or unconsciously, to stimulate speculation, fuel online discourse, and amplify media attention? The public, faced with an avalanche of interpretations, must now ask themselves, are they consuming fact, or are they being fed a spectacle crafted for their emotional engagement? What makes this situation particularly complex is the role of media platforms in shaping perception. Viral discussions on TikTok, speculative threads on Twitter, reaction videos on YouTube, and countless blog posts across digital spaces have all combined to turn one missing figure into a storyline of global concern. But should a single frame carry such interpretative weight? When Jungkook does not appear in a single image, does that absence automatically signify tension, disappointment, or exclusion? Or is the narrative constructed precisely because audiences demand constant drama in order to maintain their engagement with public figures? These questions force us to confront a deeper issue. How much of what we see is reality, and how much is performance designed for attention? Fans have described Jungkook's absence as shocking and disappointing, but is this disappointment truly rooted in factual evidence, or is it a product of projection? The emotional reactions pouring from ARMY reveal the power of narrative framing, yet they also raise a disturbing possibility. Could the entire discourse around Jungkook's supposed exclusion be nothing more than a fabricated distraction? If so, who benefits from it? Is it the media, which thrives on sensationalism? Is it the fandom itself, which unconsciously sustains its community by engaging in collective speculation? Or could it even be the group's management, using subtle strategies to generate curiosity and maintain relevance during transitional phases? Each possibility forces us to reconsider not only what is happening in front of us, but also why we are compelled to interpret it in the first place. We must confront another fundamental question. Is the audience willing to accept uncertainty? Or does the audience require definitive answers even when none exist? The hunger for certainty leads to the rapid construction of theories. Jungkook was excluded. Jungkook is upset. Jungkook chose to stay away. But where is the verifiable evidence behind these claims? At what point does speculation cease to be harmless curiosity and instead become the foundation of misinformation? The danger lies in the fact that repetition, amplification, and emotional investment can transform mere rumor into accepted truth. Can we, as observers, claim intellectual integrity if we continue to circulate narratives without questioning their authenticity? It is important to recognize that the information fueling this debate has come from diverse, yet questionable, sources. TikTok edits, Twitter threads, speculative YouTube commentaries, and fragmented media reports. While each of these may contain grains of truth, can they be considered reliable enough to form a definitive conclusion? Or are we, collectively, complicit in elevating unverified fragments into an illusion of truth. The reliance on such sources raises an unsettling question. Are we living in an age where the boundary between journalism and entertainment has collapsed entirely? If so, what responsibility does the audience hold in preventing themselves from becoming passive consumers of potential falsehoods? Consider the possibility that Jungkook's absence was nothing more than a scheduling matter, a personal choice, or even a practical necessity. Why, then, does the audience instinctively interpret it as disappointment or exclusion? Is it because human psychology gravitates toward conflict as a more satisfying explanation than coincidence? Are we, in fact, imposing our own desires for drama onto individuals who may have no involvement in the narratives we construct? The provocative question here is whether Jungkook himself is disappointed, or whether it is the fans who are projecting their own disappointment onto him, thereby creating a narrative that may never have existed. This brings us to an even more disturbing reflection. Does the media manipulate audiences, or do audiences manipulate themselves? When fans spread speculative interpretations, when commentators amplify them, when headlines package them into clickable drama, who truly drives the narrative? Could it be that Jungkook's absence has no deeper meaning at all, and yet, by our relentless need for significance, we have manufactured a crisis? If that is the case, then the disappointment we perceive is not Jungkook's but our own, a mirror of our need for certainty in a world where reality is increasingly mediated by images and screens. The formal and serious examination of this case reveals not only the fragility of truth, but also the vulnerability of audiences. In a world dominated by virality, how can we separate fact from fabrication? Should we believe the emotional narratives circulating on social media, or should we demand verifiable, primary sources before forming conclusions? When a narrative appears too dramatic to be coincidental, does that automatically validate it, or does it instead demand greater skepticism? These questions cannot be avoided if we are to maintain intellectual responsibility in an era saturated with unverified information. Now, we must turn the lens onto ourselves as readers, viewers, and participants in this cycle. Do we truly believe Jungkook's absence signifies a fracture within BTS? Or are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated by sensationalist storytelling? Are we capable of resisting the pull of clickbait headlines, emotionally charged comment sections, and algorithm-driven content designed to exploit our psychological biases? Or have we surrendered to a system where our attention is the commodity, and every fragment of ambiguity becomes monetized as drama? The confrontation with these questions is uncomfortable, but it is necessary if we are to distinguish reality from illusion. Ultimately, this is not merely a story about Jungkook, Jimin, or BTS. It is a story about us, the audience, the consumers of information, the participants in digital culture. If we accept every narrative without skepticism, we risk becoming accomplices in the spread of falsehoods. If we fail to challenge the sources of our information, we abandon the very principles of critical thinking that safeguard truth. The photograph of 5 BTS members in Los Angeles, absent of Jungkook, may or may not represent disappointment. But what is undeniable is that our reaction to it reveals far more about our own psychology, our collective desires, and our susceptibility to manipulation than it does about the members themselves. Therefore, the crucial question remains: do we believe this event is a genuine reflection of internal group dynamics, or is it a carefully constructed illusion designed, whether intentionally or unintentionally, to capture our attention? Is Jungkook truly disappointed, or have we invented his disappointment because it satisfies our need for drama? In the face of uncertainty, the most responsible position is not blind belief, but critical reflection. Until undeniable evidence emerges, skepticism must be our guide. Without it, we risk mistaking fiction for fact and speculation for truth. The responsibility now lies with every reader, every fan, and every consumer of media. Will you accept the story as presented, or will you interrogate it, question it, and reflect upon the possibility that you are being misled? The choice is not trivial. It is, in fact, a test of our collective capacity to engage with information critically in an era where perception itself can be engineered. Jungkook's absence may remain a mystery, but our reaction to it will reveal whether we have learned to question, or whether we are content to be deceived. The debate over Jungkook's absence has reached a point where every reader must confront their own position with absolute seriousness. Do you genuinely believe that this story represents a fracture within BTS, or are you merely participating in the spectacle of manufactured drama? The absence itself remains an observable fact, yet the meaning attributed to it is entirely constructed by interpretation. This forces a profound question. Are we searching for truth, or are we searching for entertainment disguised as truth? The danger lies in the latter, because once entertainment becomes indistinguishable from reality, the integrity of our perception collapses. Every click, every share, every heated argument risks amplifying a narrative that may have no foundation. The challenge is therefore urgent. Resist the temptation of sensationalism, demand evidence, and recognize that disappointment may belong not to Jungkook, but to ourselves, because we wanted a story, and we created one. The controversy has now reached a stage where speculation itself has become the centerpiece of the narrative. Jungkook's absence is no longer just about one missing member in a photograph. It has transformed into a reflection of how fandom, media, and digital culture operate in the 21st century. The real puzzle is not only why Jungkook was not in the frame, but why millions of people around the world felt compelled to interpret his absence as disappointment, exclusion, or a fracture. This reveals a deeper truth. In an age where images are consumed faster than explanations, silence itself becomes louder than clarity. At its core, the situation mirrors a broader phenomenon in pop culture. Fans demand authenticity, yet thrive on speculation. The paradox is striking. ARMY treasures BTS for their unity and sincerity, but when a single detail feels inconsistent, the fandom instantly fills the gap with dramatic assumptions. This is not unique to BTS. It is a cultural pattern repeated across all global fandoms. What makes it more intense in this case is the scale. BTS's every move is magnified to an extreme degree. What complicates matters further is Jungkook's reputation as someone emotionally transparent with his fans. He has often chosen live streams to share his thoughts, worries, and even vulnerabilities. His silence now, therefore, feels unusual. If he truly had no issue, wouldn't he at least acknowledge the swirling conversations, even subtly? This silence, intentional or not, is interpreted as confirmation of the very rumors it may not represent. In this sense, Jungkook's choice to remain quiet has paradoxically amplified the drama. Meanwhile, Jimin's presence in the LA photos created an unavoidable contrast. His casual warmth, his smiles with V and the others, stand in direct opposition to Jungkook's unseen figure. Whether he intended it or not, Jimin became the visual representation of inclusion, while Jungkook became the emblem of exclusion. Fans, caught between these two poles, are left debating not just the relationship between members, but the symbolism of togetherness versus absence. This situation also highlights the fragility of BTS's current chapter. The group is in transition, freshly reunited after military service, preparing for the massive expectations of a 2026 comeback and balancing individual identities with collective strength. Any hint of imbalance, no matter how small, threatens to cast shadows over their anticipated return. Jungkook missing from one moment may mean nothing practically, but symbolically, it risks suggesting cracks in the image of perfect unity that BTS has built over a decade. Yet perhaps the most sobering realization is this: fans may never know the truth. Unless Jungkook or the group chooses to directly address it, every interpretation remains hypothetical. And maybe that is exactly the point.